Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to another episode of New Music Finds, number 42. So this is where I like to collect together all the new music that I've purchased over the past week and present it to you. And I get it from different places like my local record stores, but also online retail like Amazon, eBay, and more. For this past week, I've got 11 new music finds to go through with you. Breaks down into 9 CDs and 2 box sets. But before we dive into all of that, if you are new to my channel and haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this with New Music Finds, episode number 42. So, like normal, we kick off with brand new releases, and from December 3rd, The Doors, LA Woman 50th Anniversary Deluxe Edition box set of this. And it is a numbered edition, so that's pretty cool there. It's a 3 CD, 1 vinyl. The vinyl is behind this part of it here. And of course, originally released in 1971, 6th studio album and final to feature Jim Morrison. He would pass away 3 months later after this came out, which is, super unfortunate because this album here is kind of the pinnacle of the Doors material and, oftentimes cited as their best album. The cool thing about this package is that it actually comes with 2 bonus discs worth of outtakes, session performances, things like that. And it's a real kind of fly on the wall experience. You really get to be in the studio, hear what's going on. There's some studio banter. It is mostly musical performance in there, so it's not like there's long periods of them talking and things of that nature. They kind of get right into it and jam, and you can really hear the development of certain songs. The first disc that's in here has 4 tracks on it, but each track is like 20 minutes long kind of a thing. So they're real in-depth, and what they've done is they've spliced together a number of different takes that allow you to hear that progression of it all the way through. Very cool stuff. I mean, for an album that is as classic as this is, it's great to hear the progression of how it was written and the development, and you get to hear early versions of things, the way a song could have turned out if they had taken a particular turn or gone down a different road or something of that nature, but instead you're getting it the way that it is. So that's kind of a cool thing there. All right, and then we got another new box set. This one, Skid Row, The Atlantic Years. So this one here collecting together the 5 albums, if you will. It's 3 studio albums and 2 EPs, but the 5 things they released on the Atlantic Records label. But what is cool about this is it is remastered, and if you're, one of the typical people out there and you only ever picked up the 3 studio albums that they put out, they did have out a B-Sides EP, and they also had out a Japanese-only release, an EP that was called Subhuman Beings Live on Tour, and that's included in here. So perhaps there is some unreleased material for you that you haven't gotten that will be part of this if you choose to pick this up. It is cool though. Each of the discs in here are in digipack cases, and they are individual. They're not the thin sleeves that they are, so you are getting that. It's not just one of those clamshell style boxes with no art reproduced or anything like that. Each of those discs comes with their own booklets associated with them and stuff like that, so pretty cool. All right, then I've got some other things that I picked up going out to my local record stores. I went to a place called Downtown Music Gallery, my first time there, really great place. They specialize in, at least in terms of the rock world, prog rock sort of stuff. They've got a lot of things, non-vocal, vocal, etc. But really cool. I was glad that I found out about this place. And first thing that I picked up, Gentle Giant, Giant for a Day, 1978 album. This was their 10th studio album. And like I said, because this place, specializes in some of the prog rock stuff. This one here being prog rock, most of what I picked up was of that genre. The band was active from 1970 to 1980. Never hugely successful, but they did develop a cult following. And this album here is a very different one than, say, earlier albums from them where they were far more progressive rock leaning. This one here is much more of the straight ahead rock flavor. Now, I actually think this is why I was able to get into the band. I have tried Gentle Giant over the years, never been able to get into them, and then saw this one, decided to give it a listen, streaming wise while I was in the store to check it out, and it just clicked with me. But I think it was due to the fact that it's more of a straight ahead rock album. Interestingly, though, it has allowed me now to get into more of that earlier stuff, having first started with this here. So if you're looking for a place to start, Giant for a Day is a great album to do that with. All right, the next one is Barclay James Harvest, Everybody is Everyone Else from 1974. This one here is a Japanese release of it, and it was their 5th studio album, again, another prog rock band. They started in 1966, releasing their first album, I believe, in 1970. And they started out like the Moody Blues, featuring a full orchestra on their first 3 albums. This one, though, is produced by Roger Bain, who is known for having worked with heavy metal artists like Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, and Budgie. So he definitely gave this album a much harder edge to it than other ones, which again I think is why I was able to get into this, because I had tried Barclay James Harvest in the past. It didn't click with me, it was too mellow, but this here, perfect for me, just was really, really good. And then found this, and this was a good find because it's hard to come by. Moby Grape, Wow, Grape Jam, 1968 release. So this is actually a double album. The front cover of this is Wow, and the back cover of this is Grape Jam. And when it was released, it was actually released as 2 separate albums, just sold together as one package. So it came in 2 completely different sleeves and so forth, but it was grouped together. And the band is known for having featured Skip Spence in the lineup, who comes from Quicksilver Messenger Service, and also the first album by Jefferson Airplane. But like Syd Barrett from Pink Floyd, he suffered from mental health problems, and unfortunately wasn't able to, hold his standing with the band and so forth. But the story of Moby Grape is kind of a sad one in the sense that they had a lot of great potential, and just due to some bad management and legal problems, things of that nature, they never fully realized that potential. But this album here was their 2nd album, and an interesting one at that. One I've always wanted to get a hold of, but it's always been pretty pricey, and I managed to find it at a good deal. All right, and then the last thing that I picked up from Downtown Music Gallery was this, a Jefferson Airplane Very Best of Live album, part of the Setlist series that Legacy Music has done in the past. This features live recordings that span from 66 to 72, so a nice period there that it's covering, not just 1 or 2 live releases kind of a thing. And it does feature 2 previously unreleased live recordings, one for White Rabbit and the other for It's No Secret. But very, very good quality stuff that's on here. I don't think it's in print any longer, kind of a thing. It was just a short thing they were doing, trying to sort of capitalize on some of that stuff. All right, and then because of having hit the music store, finding out that I actually do like Gentle Giant and I do like Barclay James Harvest, I then ordered 5 things from Amazon, and first one up being Octopus by Gentle Giant. So this is that earlier album, 1972, that I was talking about, in the sense that I don't think I was able to ever get into them when first hearing this. The album art on this is Roger Dean. It's very eye-catching, and this is one that I know that I tried checking out before in the past, but it just didn't click with me. It is the 4th studio album. This is now a Steve Wilson remix on it, which made me a little more interested in checking it out. And arguably, it's their most popular album, definitely one of the more progressive ones. And while I have enjoyed this much more, there is still a track on here, track number 4, Knots, which is kind of way out there, very avant-garde, very progressive, and kind of breaks the flow of the album in my opinion. But you have to remember that these were vinyls originally and two-sided. Knots would have been at the end of the first side, and these weren't really listened to the way we do on CDs. So the fact that the track now falls in the middle of the album and sort of breaks the flow is not how they were originally heard. So I do try to remind myself of that when listening to this, and acknowledge that that track probably didn't affect people the way that it did now as it is on CD, kind of a thing. But then I'm sure there's people that absolutely love that track. All right, I also picked up Gentle Giant, The Missing Piece, 1977. This one here being the album right before Giant for a Day. Giant for a Day was the 10th one. This is the 9th one here. But this one here, again, is less of the progressive rock, more of the straight ahead rock sounds, and so I decided to also pick up this one here. The 11th studio album and final one, unfortunately I'm finding very hard to get, but if I do track it down, certainly you guys will see it appear in here. Okay, then I also picked up some more Barclay James Harvest, October On from 1976. This is cool. These are Japanese reissues in sort of a budget style, where US dollars, they're only about $15, $16. So instead of them being a $30 Japanese import, they're very, very, priced accordingly, something that, is doable. This one here being 7th studio album. I hear a lot of Pink Floyd and Yes on that album in particular. And then I also picked up Gone to Earth by Barclay James Harvest, 1977, the follow-up album. Another one of those Japanese kind of budget price ones. And I want to show you this. So very cool in that, so we've got the booklet here, and it does come with the OBI strip. So I'm going to put that down. It's just a single sort of sleeve insert, but then you get the Japanese booklet portion of this. Normally these are just in Japanese, and you don't get an English translation. So you get this side that's in Japanese, but then you get on this side English version of it, and you get photos and stuff. So I was real pleasantly surprised to see that included in here. I almost didn't even open it and take it out. So it was a real nice find to get that within these things. And this album here, Gone to Earth, it's the 8th studio album, but I wanted to point out that it features a song called Poor Man's Moody Blues on it, and it was actually written in response to a journalist calling them that. Remember, I said they were sort of like the Moody Blues because they had the full orchestra backing them on the first 3 albums. And so the guitar player was kind of miffed by this, so he wrote this song, and he wrote it to sound like Knights in White Satin. So they kind of went full Moody Blues for this particular song. I don't really so much hear the Knights in White Satin sound to it. I still hear the elements of Moody Blues within it, but it's a really great track. So definitely one worth checking out on this album as well. And then one last release here, James Gang Miami 1974 album. This one here, so this one features Roy Kinner on vocals and Tommy Bolin on guitar. So this is after Joe Walsh left the James Gang, and replacing him, because Joe Walsh was both vocalist and guitar player, they had to bring in a vocalist and guitarist. They chose to bring in 2 separate people to do that. This would be the last album that Tommy Bolin would play with them on before leaving to join Deep Purple. He had recorded the previous album with James Gang, Bang, in 1973. But this is really good stuff. I like it. Tommy Bolin brought more of a funk edge to the band than I think Joe Walsh had, even though Joe Walsh does have a lot of that. But good stuff. If you're a Tommy Bolin fan, definitely worth checking out this album and Bang, the previous one. And so luckily I found this in Atco Records release of it, an original release of it, as opposed to the BGO reissue that was a 2-for-1 type thing that I've had in my collection for a while. So I'm slowly going to collect these individually now as well. Anyway, there you go. That is New Music Finds, episode number 42. 11 new music finds for you there in that show. And certainly check the description for links to related videos. I have done a full review for the Skid Row box set, Atlantic Years, and the Doors LA Woman 50th Anniversary. I'm going to leave links to those in the description. You can check out the full reviews if you want. And certainly check back every Wednesday for brand new episodes of New Music Finds. All right, everyone, have a great day, and I'll talk to y'all real soon. Bye-bye.